Imagine walking into your local market. You grab a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, maybe half a carton of eggs. You go to the register, pull out that same $20 bill you've used your whole life, but the cashier looks at you like you just handed over ancient money. They shake their head. Sorry, we don't accept this anymore. Sounds like a scary nightmare, right? Like something that would only happen in places like Venezuela or Zimbabwe. But here's the terrifying truth. The only reason that piece of paper in your pocket has value, the only reason you can exchange it for food, fuel, or shelter, is because of a secret deal made in a dark room 50 years ago. For half a century, America has been living inside an economic story. It has been able to print money out of thin air and buy real goods from the world, because the rest of the world had to use US dollars to buy energy. But the engine keeping this system alive is now starting to stall. The deal is beginning to break. The end of the American empire is no longer measured in decades, it's being measured in years. Now let's break down the biggest financial game in history. Let's uncover the hidden deals, the wars, and what really happened behind the scenes. And most importantly, what happens to you when this system collapses. 1. The secret deal that kept America alive. To understand the end of the world as we know it, we need to go back to the beginning. Year 1974. Location: Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It was a terrible time for America. Richard Nixon was collapsing under the Watergate scandal. The economy was falling apart. Inflation was skyrocketing. 3 years earlier, in 1971, Nixon shattered the global system. He ended the gold standard. Before that, every dollar was backed by a fixed amount of gold. But America printed too many dollars to fund the Vietnam War and social spending. Countries like France said, "We want our gold back." But the US didn't have enough gold, and the system collapsed. The dollar lost value. Inflation surged. Then came the 1973 oil crisis. Fuel prices exploded, and the economy was on the edge of collapse. At that moment, one man stepped forward: William Simon. In 1974, he was sent to Saudi Arabia on a secret mission. His task was clear: don't come back empty-handed. And there, America made one of the most important deals in history. The agreement had 3 key points. 1. The U.S. would protect Saudi Arabia, provide weapons, military support, and security. 2. Oil would be sold only in U.S. dollars. No other currency would be accepted. 3. The dollars earned would return to the U.S. Saudi Arabia would invest its profits into U.S. Treasury bonds. The result of this agreement: the world had to buy dollars to purchase oil. The dollar became the global currency. The U.S. could print money freely. This system became known as the Petrodollar system. 2. How the dollar took control of the world. Now imagine you are the finance minister of a developing country. You are industrializing, but you have a major problem. You have no energy resources. You want to buy oil, but you were told, no dollars, no oil. So what do you have to do? Produce goods, export them, earn dollars, then use those dollars to buy oil. In simple terms, you produce real goods. The U.S. gives you dollars. You use those dollars to buy oil. The oil-producing country sends those dollars back to the U.S. This is called the petrodollar recycling system. French politician Valéry Giscard d'Estaing called this an exorbitant privilege because other countries must produce real goods. The U.S. can achieve the same by printing money. But everything has a cost because the dollar became too strong. U.S. factories couldn't compete. Production moved to China. The U.S. shifted from manufacturing to a financial economy. 3. Saddam's mistake and the Iraq War in 2000 Saddam Hussein did something very unusual. He announced that oil would be sold in euros instead of dollars. At first, people laughed, but then the euro gained value, and Saddam actually benefited. This created a dangerous possibility. If other oil-producing countries did the same, demand for dollars would fall, U.S. markets would be damaged. In 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq. The official reason: weapons of mass destruction. But here's a striking detail. One of the first things done after the invasion: oil sales were switched back to dollars. 4. Gaddafi and the gold dinar, Muammar Gaddafi, had an even more dangerous plan: a gold-backed African currency. The idea? Oil and natural resources would be sold in gold. Africa would gain financial independence. This posed a major threat, especially to France, because it would collapse the CFA system. In 2011, NATO intervened in Libya. Gaddafi was killed. The gold disappeared. The plan was over. 5. Russia and the economic war. In 2022, Vladimir Putin launched a war in Ukraine. What did the West do? Removed Russian banks from SWIFT, froze $300 billion in reserves. But this triggered a global reaction. The world realized the dollar is not neutral, it's political. What did Russia do? Started selling energy in rubles, began trading with China without using dollars. Result: the dollar still survived. 6. China and the Petro-Yuan Xi Jinping introduced a new system. Oil can be bought in yuan. Yuan can be converted into gold. This means oil can now be bought without dollars. This system is already being used by Russia, Iran, China. 7. Saudi Arabia is changing direction. Mohammed bin Salman is no longer working only with the US, China, BRICS. The message is clear. Oil no longer has to be sold only in dollars. 8. The rise of BRICS countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and new members are joining. Their goals: reduce dependence on the dollar, build their own financial systems. 9. CBDCs, digital currencies, the new system. No banks, no SWIFT, no U.S. control countries can transfer money directly between each other. Which means the dollar system is being bypassed. 10. $35 trillion debt, the U.S. national debt. $35 trillion. As interest rates rise, debt costs increase, the system becomes harder to sustain. Options: 1. Default, disaster. 2. Austerity, unlikely. 3. Print money, most likely. 11. The most dangerous scenario: if the world moves away from the dollar, dollars flow back into the U.S. Inflation rises. Prices spiral out of control. 12. The return of gold. Central banks are aggressively buying gold because gold is independent of any system. 13. Military risk. The U.S. military is extremely expensive. If money printing slows, bases may close, power may decline. 14. A new world order. There is no longer a single system. Dollar block, euro block, BRICS block. The world is becoming more fragmented, more expensive, more risky. 15. What should you do? Key takeaways: don't rely only on money. Hold gold and real assets. Use debt wisely. Invest in yourself.